Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yuri Folari and I'm here with Asukwo James.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Indeed. And we continue our look yesterday at the partial reopening of schools for exit classes up and down the land. Not really everywhere, but, so that's part of it being partial. We stopped over at some schools to see what the arrangements were to keep everybody safe, and we'll continue with that theme. But we have a report, right?
Yes. Our correspondent in the South, they put up a package, one package from Rivers to Delta and to Bayelsa. So let's watch the package.
Okay.
State and private schools will remain shut pending the announcement of a resumption date by the state government. However, Unity schools in the capital city welcomed students back in preparation for their West African Examination Council examinations.
We have about 9 infrared thermometers. 3 will be permanently at the gate. 3 others will be here at the admin block, and 3 others at the classroom area.
Boarding students resumed on day 1, while those coming from home every day are expected to return to school from tomorrow. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Port Harcourt.
Okay, so that was a...
Uche.
Academic activities in preparation for the West African School Certificate Examination on the 17th of August. Both private and public schools visited observed the protocol to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The state government expresses commitment to ensure strict adherence by teachers and students to the safety guidelines.
I've seen a very large turnout of the teachers, all with their masks, and I can see total compliance amongst them. And we have trained a large number of these teachers, and I think the training we had for them has equally helped.
The subject of interest is the level of preparedness of the state government to protect public health. Ikenna Amechi, TVC News, Asaba.
In Bayelsa, public and private schools remain shut in Yenagoa, the capital city, and other parts of the state. At the Train the Trainer program at the Harold Dapabirie Conference Center, the state government commenced the distribution of scanners, face masks, and hygiene-related equipment to public and private schools to be monitored by a 10-man committee inaugurated by the governor.
We are here to train key stakeholders in the school system and in the health sector. But we must continue to keep the protocols and guidelines to avoid any further spread of COVID-19, as we are prepared to reopen our schools.
This Train the Trainer program is coming up so that we'll intensify this minds training. Let's live with the existing reality. And once we're able to do that and educate the people and enlighten them, the job becomes easier.
The governments of Rivers, Delta, and Bayelsa states want its citizens, particularly the student populace, to brace up and accept the new normal in strict adherence to the COVID-19 protocol, just as students in exit classes return to prepare for the regional examinations in West Africa. Ofieteme George, TVC News, Yenagoa.
Okay, I'm taking a break in studio before we go into another report. Yesterday when we talked about this, there are those who expressed the concern that whereas, most people understand why we have to take this calculated risk, it's like we can't leave anything to chance. There are those who are saying that the fact that the numbers are rising, you were giving, I think you saw some numbers,
Yes,
the numbers are
44,000.
To 44,000.
44,433. That's confirmed cases in Nigeria.
So it's going up, but we still have to move in because I think the wisdom is that we can't just be there and passive and not do anything. But there are those who were seriously concerned about numbers rising, putting people out in that kind of a space. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you look at You are not saying that students should not go, especially those who are graduating, should not go to finish their exams and move ahead. But what we should be looking at is, are those facilities on the ground so that no child
we saw a model
gets
situation in, was it from Zamfara yesterday?
No.
We saw a model classroom, proper spacing, everybody wearing masks, and the general consensus, or was it Abuja or something? Well, the idea, I think it was Abuja. The other concern is, can we guarantee such standards throughout the land?
Exactly, because that is another thing. If we are having these challenges with fewer number of students, by the time we now finally open up the schools proper.
But we haven't determined that we're having the challenges yet.
There are, because there are some places.
Yes,
there are some places that they don't even have thermometers. Okay, they have, but it's not working. Now, there are some places that when you go, they don't have enough water. They don't even have water in some states.
Running water.
They don't have running water to wash their hands, and some they don't even have soap. So
let's take the report from Ogun and see if it's any better. Let's take this report from Ogun State.
Despite the increasing figures of confirmed cases of coronavirus in Ogun State, final year students of the senior secondary schools resumed ahead of the final examination commencing on 17th of August. The students were made to wash their hands and wear a face mask as directed by the state government. The team of the state government had visited most of the schools to check facilities put in place for safe return of the students and encourage school administrators to put most of the kits to proper use.
We've sent every school their buckets. We've sent you the kit, the first aid kit. And with the first aid kit, it has the list of the contact numbers, the important contact numbers in it. His Excellency has spent so much for all secondary schools.
While expressing appreciation to the state government for its investment on education and their well-being, some of the students say they never believed that they would return to school this year.
I feel happy because many students have been frustrated because the federal government already announced that our year could be next year. So many students were already frustrated. But by resuming today, most students are happy. We are going to write our final exams.
To thank them for providing the necessary materials, such as the wash and basin and other things like that. And we also thank them for making us to resume in earnest, because if we didn't resume now, we don't know what the fate of most of us might be.
But you can see, if you go around, the items have been put where the student can do as they come in, they wash their hands and they apply sanitizer before they go to their classes.
One of the students also advised those who are yet to return to school to do so, as the environment is much more conducive and safe for them for learning.
I want to tell them that they should come to school because the facilities here are enough to cater for us. I even like that we have some isolation centers even in the school.
The state government initially made COVID-19 test results a prerequisite for returning and boarding students, but later cancelled the idea and directed that money of those who have paid for the test in private schools be refunded, while the test will be free for all.
School administrators, both at public and private, are expected to ensure proper compliance even during the examination period as students prepare for their final examination. Kazim Olowe, TVC News, Abeokuta.
Well, indeed, thank you very much for that report. Went out earlier. The students themselves, as that young lady was saying, are sort of excited. In fact, she actually was enthusing there that
they have isolation center.
Isolation center. She probably meant something different.
And that is in case someone falls or have symptoms that is related to COVID.
No, you're not going to have symptoms because they check you before you come in.
Yes.
They check you, your temperature and all of that. So there's no, if you show the slightest...
If for instance, the temperature was 40 when they checked
the thermometer.
Yes, the thermometer. was faulty. So what happened?
What are you saying now? Don't do that.
So the thing is, not that we don't want the schools to reopen, but we want to ensure that things are put in place.
Yeah.
Now, all these schools that we have seen, the students went there, they did their exams. If they did their exams and they left, how did they leave? That is one. Then two, did they also carry out the contaminating of those classes? Because that is the only way we can keep emphasizing and knowing that we are really keeping to the protocols. If not, it's just that, okay, we have open schools and we are still allowing students to go. And then in the morning, we now bring out the thermometer, we'll check again, and they go do their sit for their exams. In some states, the students are even sitting on bare floor, in some states.
Okay. Uche Okoro is...
in Port Harcourt.
Okay.
Uche. Good morning, Uche.
Good morning, Uche. Yori is here alongside Asukwo. Is Asukwo who has a question for you?
Okay, so Uche, tell us. I know yesterday the schools did not open in Rivers. Can you hear me? Yeah. So what is the situation now? Are they reopened? Because I heard the governor actually said that schools should reopen today.
Right, absolutely. The students in the private and state public schools have today joined their counterparts in resumption in preparation for the WAEC examinations. We've been out on the streets this morning to monitor the situation, and I can tell you that of a truth, these schools have resumed. Yesterday in Port Harcourt and across the state, it was just the Unity schools that opened their gates to students once again after so many months. But this morning the situation has changed, or improved, I should say, leading to the reopening of the private and public schools under the control of the state government. The announcement to reopen these category of schools came actually very late last night, I think about 8 p.m. last night, then when we got the information. So what I've been able, from my observation, I think that has been responsible for the low turnout of students this morning. Very, very low turnout of students this morning. It may interest you to know that yesterday, when the Unity schools reopened, students still showed up to resume at the private and public schools. They had a large crowd as at yesterday, even though they did not have the directive to reopen. But today, having received directives to open, it's being characterized by low turnout of students in the private and public schools. But from my understanding, I would attribute that to the late arrival of the information for these schools to resume. So we expect that from next week, from in the coming days and from next week, there will be an improvement in the number of students who would resume. But right now, the situation is that private and public schools have resumed, joining their counterparts in the Unity schools.
Okay. So from your observation and from going around, did they keep to the protocols? What were the things you saw? Were they thermometer? Were they hand washing basin, for the students?
Absolutely, yes. From my observation, I would say I'll give them thumbs up. Yeah, I would give them thumbs up. As at yesterday at FGC Port Harcourt, there were thermal scanners being used by security men, thermal scanners being used by the staff of the school to check students, and as well as everybody entering into the premises, parents who are bringing their wards back to school. So yes, from my observation on day one, so far, yesterday and today, I would give a pass mark. Today, every student who I saw coming into the premises had to have their face mask on before they are allowed to gain access into the premises. Also had to move from there immediately to a hand washing point. On day one, so far so good. I would say so far so good. But you know the human factor, you know the Nigerian factor. I think a true assessment of compliance to the COVID-19 regulations and precautions would better be established from the second week or in the coming days, because you know the human factor. I don't want to say the Nigerian factor, I'd rather say the human factor. On the first day, there is very likely to be that high level of compliance. Maybe because it is expected that there will be monitoring. Journalists will be on the ground, officials will be on the ground to see the level of compliance. So I think a true assessment of compliance to this directive would rather be seen and established from the second week of this resumption. But from my observation today, yesterday, I would give a pass mark to the schools and the institutions so far.
So were you able to speak to the teachers, maybe the principal, on if they've given their teachers in the kind of training ahead of this resumption? Especially the teachers, in terms of keeping the social distancing and all. Were you able to speak to them? And what did they say?
I had a chat with the principal. Yes, they have done that because as at yesterday I mentioned that at FGC Port Harcourt they had 9 thermometers that will be used across board, 3 at the gate, 3 at the admin block, and 3 by the teachers in the teaching area. Yes, these head teachers have said they have a team of personnel who are prepared to handle any eventuality. Also in the schools, some of the schools I visited this morning before this program, you see many of the teachers being at the forefront of enforcing the directive, standing at the gates, taking up key positions in strategic points across the school. So yes, I would say that from my observation that the teachers seem to have that awareness which they in turn intend to enforce. Because I think the challenge that the teachers would have is that of enforcement. Because children would always be children, and there is a limit to how much behavioral changes you can expect them to exhibit in the face of these emergencies. So the responsibility will lie on the teachers to enforce, to continue to enforce on a daily basis. But from my observation, yes, I would say the teachers are ready for that responsibility. The head teacher, specifically the principal of the FGC Port Harcourt, said in addition to having a select category of teachers who would be handling the students this period, they have also set up a specific COVID-19 team on ground. And that team comprises all members of staff of the school's medical facility, as well as some other members of staff who have been co-opted into that particular team. So yeah, I think it is so far so good. It is just going to be a question of every member.
You said something.
Joint responsibility, really, to continue the job of awareness, continue the job of enforcement in this pupil. So, like I said, children will always be children.
Yeah, so Uche, you said something about...
Yes, these teachers seem to be ready for this, to enforce this responsibility.
Uche, you said something about medical. I want to know, did they also build new clinics, or they have their sick bay, the former sick bay, and then they maybe equipped it?
Well, in my report today, you're going to get a little bit of an answer or visuals to represent an answer to your question. Many of these, before this time, many schools already have what they call dispensaries, clinics, dispensaries and clinics. So what has happened now is that many of these schools have tried to improve what they already have on ground to respond to the new reality. Many schools already do. I know that FGC does. I know a lot of other big secondary schools in the state too have, however small, but they certainly do have clinics, dispensaries, and all the rest. So what has happened now, I can tell you, is the fact that in Port Harcourt, many of these schools have tried to improve what they already have. For instance, now in FGC, Rumokoro, one of the schools I visited yesterday, what they have done was to reduce the number of beds, reduce the capacity of each ward. Let me put it that way. Reduce the capacity of each ward on in the building that has been designated as the hospital in quotes. It is being called a waiting room, a waiting area, not an isolation center, because it is children they are talking about. So yeah, that's the situation. Also, floor markings have been made in some of these medical facilities that have been set up in anticipation of any student who presents with suspicious symptoms. Floor markings have been made where, in order to create spacing between any student who comes who requires medical attention. So yeah, I think it is after now. This is just going to be a lesson to managers of our educational system in the country that they don't need to wait for a pandemic to improve the medical structures, medical system of these schools, because many a times it is just believed that a school is strictly for learning. Build libraries, build laboratories, furnish the classrooms, make them comfortable, get good teachers. But in the past, very little attention is paid to the medical, the provision of medical services to these students and staff in the school. So I think this is just going to be a lesson, an eye-opener to managers of our education going forward.
All right. Thank you very much, Uche. Great report. We have to cut it short, however. Thank you very much. And as he said, we'll be hearing more from him as things are going on. The other aspect that we didn't get time to touch on, which I think is very, very important, it's a point that's been spoken about, but when we had the Lagos State Commissioner for Health, the professor, speak with us, he had said, keeping your hands away from your face is also very, very important. Yeah, you go through, you wash your hands, you sanitize your hands. Now, it's actually very difficult to do, and so it's a Uche is speaking about behavioral aspects of this whole thing. So that's one behavior that most humans, we do subconsciously.
Even with the children now.
Yes, and then with children.
How are you going to now tell children when their eyes are itchy?
So this is something that's very, very important, so that lest all the precautions that they've been taking be undone. You know, that's a difficulty there. We hope that the experts in the schools will also pay attention to that particular aspect about it's important to keep your hands away from your face. Once your hands are sanitized, they're clean, now you got to, because you're going to be touching surfaces. Mazi Okorafor, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling.
The opening of school is not the issue, but the question now is this: the students, are they ready to adhere to these COVID-19 regulations? Now, what I saw is you see that this issue of hugging, long time no see, shake man, take man. At the end of the day, start asking yourself, the students, are they not aware that COVID-19 exists? Does it mean that their parents didn't advise them what to do or what not to do? So this is another question that parents, at least by just calling parents as a matter of urgency, they should advise their children who are still going back to school later, that they should try to keep to the COVID-19 rules and regulations. Many children say, I don't know what is their problem. Yeah. And this is this. You ask yourself, the school authority in the villages, in rural areas, who are going to monitor what is happening in the school. So that is why, because I've just connected on the Ministry of Education, the whole Nigeria, all the 36 schools, that all the educational authorities, they should make sure that all their supervisors, they should be doing up and down. Where they cannot do, like school authority, now let's say that you don't have this temperature check. What do you do? Let the PTA bring their own money from their purse. I know that PTA, they gather money within the factory to help the school. 90% of going to buy bus. For the, they should suspend that issue of going to buy bus. Use the money and buy sanitizer and buy face mask for the children. And apply some teachers that will monitor medical personnel to monitor the students. That is the most important thing.
All hands have to be on deck. All hands have to be on deck.
Exactly.
And, as we're talking about that, the behavioral aspects to this, yeah, you can teach a person to, wash their hands. But the ones that are almost reflex, quite frankly, never mind almost, like reflex. You're talking about itchy eyes, your hand goes to your eyes. That could be an absolute no-no, because I'm not sure that we extend up to, look at that remarkable, that picture we just saw there. That was model, that was like a model. But the other aspect is, the ideal would be to sanitize these whole classes after every use.
Exactly.
So that by the time they come back, it's pristine. And as soon as they've used it, they go. But I don't know if we can go to those extents.
The thing is this sustainable?
We have a call coming in from Kaduna. Good morning. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. My name is Frank, calling from Kaduna.
Sure.
What I want to add to this opinion is, it's good the idea that government is having the children resume again. But at the end, there's what we call in Igbo land, Abrinem, which means cut and give me. They will buy biscuits. This one will cut and give this one. This one will cut donut and give this one. So all those saliva will now pass round. I hope government has considered it. Thank you very much.
Indeed, thank you very much. Indeed. Well, this goes back to what I think Mazio Korafor made the point, and other people, commentators, have also made the point that the parents have a lot of work to do too. You can't leave it to the school people.
Yeah, exactly.
Just train your wards, teach your wards how to behave in this new normal dispensation that we are running. But I'm just suspecting that the biggest one is going to be those ones that are habitual, how your hand just goes to your face as a habit. And, to break that habit, people are just going to, because it might be the difference between, we've had the eye doctors, optometrists, they've come in and they've told us how that's also another gateway into, infection.
Getting COVID.
Exactly.
So like I was saying, how sustainable would this be? Because I know even when we had Lassa fever, there was sanitizer. After a while, nobody was using sanitizers again.
We hope that doesn't happen. Okay, we've got to go on a break now. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back and we'll look at a different subject. Okay, welcome back, and let's switch subjects now. So there was a National Security Council meeting yesterday, and following it, the National Security Advisor, spoke to the press, and he said that the president, who presided over the Security Council meeting, had directed that there should be a rejig of our security architecture. I guess we're going to have to find out what exactly that means. Because the National Security Advisor himself wasn't as clear as one would have desired, because he spoke about working on something, in quotes, working on something with the Minister of Defense. Let's take the report first.
Security Council meeting in the year, and a worrying scenario is presented to President Muhammadu Buhari. It is the increasing prevalence of drug use in society and Nigeria's gradual change in status from a drug transit to a drug-producing nation.
Between 2011 and 2019, approximately 17 manufacturing laboratories of methamphetamine substances were located by the various security agencies and destroyed. That is a large number.
And it is a situation that must be checked, since a direct nexus has been established between drug use and an increase in violent crimes across the country. Security chiefs had found out that homicidal crimes such as the insurgency, armed banditry and kidnapping are propelled by the reckless use of drugs by criminal groups. Tackling this problem, they say, will take a holistic approach that will inadvertently involve all members of society.
It will only result in this country hurtling inexorably down a bottomless pit of self-destruction. We don't want
that. The briefing National Security Advisor acknowledges that the Southern Kaduna killings and the face-off between the Borno State governor and military leaders in Borno State did come under scrutiny in the National Security Council meeting, but he is not forthcoming about what was discussed at length on these issues. The service chiefs are not yet off the hook, as again President Buhari expresses dissatisfaction in their best efforts and insists on an overhaul of the security strategy.
Yes, Mr. President said, you are doing your best as far as I'm concerned, but there's still a lot more to be done. I am more concerned about the promise we made to the larger Nigerian society, and I am ordering an immediate re-engineering of the entire security apparatus.
What this will translate to still remains to be seen. Tai Amudu, TVC News, Abuja.
Okay, so there we have it. Even our own Tai Amudu was able to say that the National Security Advisor wasn't as forthcoming as perhaps newsmen would have liked. In fact, we have Ambassador Roy Ohidiegbie. I hope I said that right, Ambassador Roy.
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay.
Ambassador Roy Ohidiegbie.
Thank you very much.
No, you know, I for one, I was shocked. In fact, I was speechless to hear the National Security Advisor be alluding state of insecurity to the frequency of drug entrance into the country. The National Security Advisor should be showing us how many drug lords have been locked up, are facing trial, have been sentenced. It's not his role to come out and be saying these people are acting on the drug peddling, drug use has been with us for years. We know that it aids criminality, we know. But we also know that there are laws against peddling drugs. And he has the apparatus of the immigration, the DSS, and every other security agency under his purview. They can be called to action at any point in time where they are seeing the activity of these people. Now, these drug addicts that we talk about, when you can arrest a drug addict and you revive the drug addict back to normalcy, some of them could tell you where they buy it from. Then you can start tracing. You don't need an intelligence of a robot. You know, another thing that I was so confused there is rising from a meeting with the president, all service chiefs, and the NSA is the one giving the whole caucus of discussion to drug use. What happens to the drug law?
The
security system in place?
Mr. Roy, one second, please. Yeah, he spoke about that, yes, but I guess the aspect of maybe more than one subject was touched upon in the meeting, but the one that really interests us, because as you pointed out, it is a problem. You're not hearing. Oh dear. You have pointed to one that is one thing that was discussed.
Breaking.
But yes, indeed. But the other thing is the security apparatus, architecture. Those are the two words we're hearing that the president has ordered.
You are breaking, sir.
Hello, can you hear us?
It's breaking. Okay, the sound is not good. The audio is not good, right? Okay, which is a pity.
I can't get your question.
Okay. We're going to have to, we'll work on it. One thing, yes, our guest has, moved in quickly, zoomed in on, that the top liner that they wanted to hear about might have been this security rejig thing. But then we have precious little to go with. We have precious little to go with because maybe this is how security people do their stuff. The president is the commander-in-chief. The National Security Advisor is not about to release too much information because I'm talking about working on something with the Minister of Information, with the Minister of Defense. And what exactly, well, the president has, and this is maybe it's instructive. The president has said, we were hearing from the National Security Advisor, the president has opined that, yes, whereas I can acknowledge that you are doing your best. Now, but you are doing your best. Is this their best? But the president said that you are doing your best, but there's still a lot more that can be done.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there, would we be accused of looking at it too narrowly if we said, look, the president has said that your best leaves a lot more to be done. And you thought I was going to say to be desired. No. Leaves a lot more to be done. The president said, yep. Since I can paraphrase, Mongono, the security advisor, the president, he reported, has said that you are doing your best, but there's still a lot more to be done. Well, and then he wouldn't allow us much more than that. We are working on something. That is he, as the security advisor, and the Minister of the defense on behalf of the whole security apparatus. The important thing about all of this is that the president doesn't want to accede to the clamor for a change of the security chiefs. So
exactly,
it's like the president has said, okay, take this.
But I'm also looking at, okay, the president is giving them one more chance, you know, for them to put their house in order. And I don't expect the NSA or any of the security chiefs, you know, to come out and tell us this is our plan.
No.
Because we know that if we want to deal with this insecurity, they need to do it on the ground. Don't allow us know, just be working, and then we'll see. Nigerians will know. Because you understand?
His famous words of
we are working on something. So let them just be working on the ground, and then we'll start seeing the results. So the results should be, okay, fine. There's peace in southern Kaduna, there's peace in Zamfara, there's peace in the northeast, and all the other places.
It'll be interesting to see how the rejig goes. Since it's become an order now, the president has ordered a rejig. And even though we're using such, those aren't exactly, I don't think, military or strategic terminology.
It's strategic.
It is, eh?
Yes.
But somebody is saying with the exasperation, the man is ready. Let's see if it is possible that we can actually speak again with our guest. Hello, sir. Are you still there, Mr. Ambassador Roy?
I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you. I think it's clearer now.
Give us your understanding of what we have. The only thing we have is what the security advisor, national security advisor said, which is that he was working with they were working with something with the Minister of Defense, and he couldn't say more than that.
Okay, let me first explain why there is clamor for the service chiefs to leave. In the military, as it stands now, every officer has a tenure to serve in an office. And as you move on, another catchment of officers takes over that office. There is no monopoly of office. We are all working with the same Army Act, you know, and if you re-strategize, that's the strategy that you did with a team. Where is the succession planning? So if you are sitting on that seat and it seems forever, you know that you are putting the motivation of troops, you are causing a lot of distraction and disgruntlement among the ranks. Now, when we go about the strategy to sort out the security issues, there is no template that is uniform to the country. Every clime has his type of crime, and every clime has its type of solution. So if they sit there at Abuja and they think they can just sort it out like that, it's not going to work. They need to interact with private security practitioners. They need to interact with the local security architecture. They need to come down to the agencies. What specialty is an agency supposed to run? Is the Army doing the job of the DSS? Is the immigration doing the job of the ESPC? You know, has everybody run their course fully? And the judiciary is key in all of this, because we look at culpability and penalties against the law of criminality, the law of individual breaches. So if we don't have all of this to run, then all those things you are hearing are just political statements, because just some months back, the president said, I'm tired of your excuses. So when did the excuses turn to results? When we still see soldiers dying, when we still see people being killed in their houses, in their sleep in Kaduna, when we now see all the corruption issues coming up, what is the EFCC doing? What is the anti-crime doing? And so it's funny to say we are playing politics with security.
Okay, one moment, please. Good morning, Mr. George Nikeja.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
And greetings to the other editor there.
Sure.
Good
morning.
Yori, if any rejig is to take place, I expect the president and commander-in-chief to first of all rejig the service chiefs. I listened to your program some days ago when a security analyst came on air, you know, condemning the statement made by the governor of Borno State that he suspected sabotage in the attack he suffered. I don't agree with him. The governor, I'm inclined to believe what the governor said. If there's a rejig to be done, the president himself should be the one to start the rejigging by rejigging the service chiefs. I don't want to believe that these people, if you are saying that they have done their best, and their best is not giving us the desired result, it goes to me that they need to be, another set needs to be tested. That's what I think should be done. The rejigging should start from the president.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. Ambassador Roy, the other aspect most people know, this particular conflict with terrorists, with Boko Haram, don't know if they're actually allowed to call them that, but it's like it's not an all-out war in the sense of the full weight of the military being brought to bear. We were speaking about the situation in Borno, and we hear that, well, in Borno, it is considered what was referred to as a political, or if you want, cultural leadership, that these, people are, for the better part, our sons. And so you have a situation where I don't think the matter is to take them out, because the captives that are made are being rehabilitated, and once they've been,
de-radicalized.
Once they've been de-radicalized, they're put back into society. So that might be part of the challenge, because I don't think that the Nigerian army, you can run rings around them, if not that they are hamstrung by other policy issues, perhaps. What would be your comments on that?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Last time I was talking to someone, I said, we just rejigged the Nigerian prison service to a correctional center. We just did that. So all of these people you want to de-radicalize, what stops us from taking these people into custody in the correctional center? What stops us from doing that? Utilize your existing structure. Why create another preference for that? What stops us from putting them in a correction center, let them become tailors, mechanics, engineers, cyber experts, whatever is their flair, we put it to center.
One moment, please. Let me take David calling in from Taraba State. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling. Go ahead, please.
Yes. I wonder why it should be that it's because of drugs that there's been this increase in insecurity in Nigeria. That is totally a big shamble, because drug peddling have been happening in this country way, way, way back before 2011, as it was stated. I think the problem is the architecture on ground in perpetrating this act. Who are the people instigating insecurity? Who are the people sponsoring insecurity? We are supposed to be talking about those they have caught, who have been instigating these killings, who have been sponsoring these killings. Are you telling me it is because of drugs that somebody with an AK-47 to go and kill? Look at the killings that are happening in southern Kaduna. It is not just today. This is something that has been happening decades ago.
Yeah, but the order now, the order from the president is to rejig our security apparatus or architecture.
Yes.
Rejig it.
Yes. That rejigging is just an ambiguous statement, I would say. Because if you have to rejig, you don't even have to come on air to tell us. We are supposed to just hear that the security chiefs have been changed. They are overdue.
Okay, that would be rejigging to you.
Yes,
oh,
they are
okay.
overdue.
Okay.
Secondly, the operational system, for instance, in Boko Haram in Maiduguri there, every army chief that comes in comes with his own strategies, because his commanding officers, he will change them. Even the troops on ground will be changed. because the morale die as the commanding officer in charge is not performing. So a new commanding officer that comes in comes with a different morale, different style, different strategy. So troops on ground, we also need to be what? Changed. I am telling you, my father is a retired soldier man, a well-trained bomb disposal specialist that Nigeria have ever had. When he retired and came back home, he said we should keep on praying for Nigeria, that troops in the Middle are suffering.
Okay.
That the problem is the Nigerian politicians, those responsible for this whole act, have made Nigerian troops no longer those troops that when they step foot on any community, people are frightened.
Okay.
That else,
all right,
this whole issue of Boko Haram would have ended.
Indeed.
So the problem lies with the people who are supposed to make sure things are done rightly.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your calling in. Well, it touches on policy, because we've asked before, what exactly are the orders that the commanders have? That is relating to the point about the Nigerian army can take out any place.
Yeah.
Any place there's a problem, the Nigerian army can take them out. But it will depend on what the orders are that they have and that they're operating under. So if the order, for example, what do we know about it? If the order, for example, is to take as many prisoners as possible, then you can see how that is going to require a particular kind of strategy.
Yes.
But if the order were to be
there and
take out any enemy of the country, any guy remotely resembling a terrorist, take him out. Now, there are those who have said that this conflict won't last 2 weeks.
There will be human rights issues.
But then the whole human rights issue will come to the fore. So this is how, this is what laymen like us can sort of see in the whole matter. No doubt the strategists and the specialists will see it, in a more refined kind of way.
In fact, if we want to see the new strategy they want to bring, the new strategy, and thank God the NSA said it's going to be soon. So I want to believe it's going to be maybe in the next 1 week.
Yeah.
And the governors are meeting too with the service chiefs and the IGP today.
Yes.
So we want to see the outcome, whether the governor, the governors were also insisting that they should, change the service chiefs. Maybe they will now...
That would be the rejigging they want Mr. President to do.
Maybe they will now go back and say, okay, let's give them some time for them to bring out another strategy.
One or two voices have said, Mr. George has said, and I think it was somebody else, was it David? I can't remember exactly, apart from Mr. George, who has said that let the president start the rejigging by rejigging, changing the service chiefs. But that is not the way Mr. President is going, clearly, because it is these very service chiefs that he has given the order to rejig the security architecture. We can't really know more than that for now, but I suppose that's the way it's going to have to be. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the program, and thank you very much for staying with us, and to all those who called in and contributed their perspectives, their opinions. Thank you very much.
And Ambassador Roy.
Ambassador Roy, we thank you very much, Ambassador Roy, for making time to join us on the program, and the other people who called in on the phone. So, as always, we say, do your best to please keep safe, and especially now that the kids are in school, exit classes, keep your hands away from your faces. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing. Asukwa and I say bye-bye for now.